Good morning. And welcome to the Board of County Commissioners. We'll be holding the Tuesday, January 15, 2013 regular meeting. We'll be having an invocation by the Reverend Steve Jones from Vero Christian Church, and then we'll lead us in pledge. Thank you.
Shall we pray? Our Father in heaven, as instructed in your word, we intercede today for our county leaders in these proceedings. Guide their decisions that our residents may live peaceful, quiet lives marked by godliness and dignity. Thank you for each citizen who is here to participate in the process. We ask a special blessing on Joseph Fletcher, Wesley Davis, Peter O'Brien, Tim Zork, Bob Solari, Alan Polakowicz, Joe Baird, and Maureen Geflo. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you. Please join with me in the Pledge of Allegiance to the greatest nation on earth. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Regarding additions and deletions to the agenda, item 8H has been pulled by staff.
Move to adopt the agenda as amended.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Davis, second by Commissioner Solari. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Next item on the agenda is proclamations and presentations. A presentation of proclamation designating Indian River County as a Purple Heart County. I'd like to call Colonel Marty Zickert, and I believe you have some honorees here today.
I do. I got a representative from everyone except World War II. So if you gentlemen would come up and join me.
Please join us so we can present the proclamation, and we'd like to hear a few words from you all.
This is Craig Wasco, Vietnam era, Ron Stevens, Korea, and James Redenauer, OEF, OIF. James was wounded in Iraq on December 7th in 2003, significantly, and his family lives here, and we're working really hard to get the young folks out and get them integrated back into society. That's our main job, and so I'm thrilled to death to have these representatives here. I'll let you read the proclamation, and then I would ask that they have the opportunity to talk.
Thank you for your service and sacrifice, gentlemen. This proclamation designating Indian River County as a Purple Heart County. Whereas Indian River County is located on Florida's Treasure Coast, and our residents have always treasured our military veteran population, now numbering over 18,000. And whereas the Purple Heart is the oldest military decoration in use today, which evolves from the badge of military merit created by General George Washington for the common soldier in 1782. And whereas the Purple Heart is awarded to members of the United States Armed Forces who have been wounded or killed in combat with a declared enemy of the United States of America. And whereas the mission of the Military Order of Purple Heart is to foster an environment of goodwill among the combat wounded veteran and their families, promote patriotism, support legislative initiatives, and most importantly, make sure we never forget. And whereas Indian River County has a large, highly decorated veteran population, and whereas we appreciate veterans and the sacrifices our Purple Heart recipients have made in defending our freedoms, and believe it is important that we acknowledge them for their courage and show them the support that they have earned. Now therefore be it proclaimed by the Board of County Commissioners of Indian River County, Florida, that the Board hereby declares that we are a Purple Heart County and fully support our county as one of the first Purple Heart counties in Florida, duly adopted this 15th day of January 2013, signed by all 5 county commissioners. Colonel?
Thank you very much. I'd also like to thank Brian Heddy. Brian is the one who set this whole program up. He is our liaison with the other counties, and because of Brian, we are one of the first counties, and I'm tremendously proud of that. Craig? Feel free.
Good morning. We accepted a proclamation from the city last week, and it was a proud moment. And once again, I speak for the fellow standing behind me and all those veterans here in the county. And it's another proud moment. Very happy to be here and represent all of our veterans here in the county. And Joe, especially you, thank you personally so much for all you do and the support with the Victory Center and all of our efforts here in the county. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Ronald Stevens. I was wounded September 7th, 1952 on Heartbreak Ridge. I'm commander of Military Order of the Purple Heart, Chapter 494. Thank you.
Thank you.
I was wounded in Mosul, Iraq, IED, shrapnel in the back of the head, December 7th of 03, and awarded Purple Heart by President George Bush while I was in Walter Reed Army Hospital.
God bless you, gentlemen. I'm hearing wow and awe, and the reason being is, you know, we have a difficult task here in governing this county. We wouldn't be here without you and your sacrifice. And I know when you signed up, however which way you signed up to serve these United States, you did not know where it was going to take you. And unfortunately, all of you gentlemen have been wounded in the line of duty, and I just want to say humbly from my heart, thank you for your sacrifice. And the effects of war are varied and many, and thank you for making it through and being here, and today showing us the importance of the recognition of our Purple Heart recipients, those who sacrificed almost everything. Thank you. Thank you. You want to take this? Okay.
Thank you.
Do a picture in front, Marty?
Yeah, sure. Or come up.
Yeah, or come on up.
Yeah, come on up. Let's get a
Yeah,
picture right here.
come on up.
Marty, you want to come on up? Come on up.
Yeah, come on up.
Come on up, guys. I'm going to ask you to step up to the plate one more time.
Push those out of the picture a little bit further. Please.
Right in there, center stage.
All right.
Marty, how are you?
How you doing?
How's your wife?
Doing great. One more chemo.
Thank you.
But Craig, at our age, it's often in the funeral. Make Mom look bad. Well, thank you.
None of us can look bad. Look who we're with.
Thank you
very much.
Thank you again, gentlemen.
Hey there, my man. Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, with you.
Take care, man. Chair straighten out this time.
Yes, sir. I thank you. Somebody's got one.
Well, after that recognition, do we have an agenda?
Pales in comparison.
Thank you again. All right, next we have a presentation on the Indian River County Electronics Recycling Event on Saturday, January 19, 2013, at the Indian River County Fairgrounds by Himanshu Mehta, Managing Director of Solid Waste Disposal District, memorandum dated January 4, 2013. And good morning.
Morning, sir.
Vince is here.
For the record, Vincent Burke, Utility Director. I'm going to be speaking today instead of Mr. Himanshu. Give me an opportunity to talk about this great event that's happening this Saturday, the 19th, from 9 o'clock in the morning to 3 in the afternoon. This is the pamphlet that we have outside for folks if they want to grab it as well. And briefly, it goes over some of the things that the county will be accepting with our friends AERC and Keep Indian River Beautiful. Anywhere from computers, laptops, printers, or other electronic devices that we're trying to keep out of our solid waste landfill. So we're partnering with AERC, where they have a policy of collecting the material that would be hazardous or disadvantageous to going into our solid waste in their facility up in Melbourne. And so they are going to be working up at the county fairgrounds this weekend with forklifts and pallets to collect the material from folks, to weigh it, to give us a tally, and to then recycle some of those components. So I urge everybody, if they have old computers and electronic equipment, printers and such, to bring it up to the fairgrounds. About 10 years ago, I had one computer in my house. I think now I have about 6. And as we get newer and newer computers, things tend to get shelved and put into the garage or elsewhere. So I think this is a good opportunity to bring that up to the fairgrounds this weekend. I know I'll be there. So just to let you know, last year, they took in almost 15 tons of material, about 29,500 pounds. Keeping In River Beautiful also handed out about 100 recycling bins, and about 475 vehicles showed up last year. So we expect the numbers to also be at that or a little bit more. So one other thing I wanted to mention is on the bottom right-hand corner of this pamphlet, there's a little raffle ticket for folks who do want to enter into a raffle. There's a refurbished laptop that will be given away as part of this program as well. So again, that's Saturday the 19th from 9 to 3. We're working with our friends AERC and Keeping In River Beautiful. And I want to thank the staff of SWID for putting this together. I don't know if you have any questions.
Well, Vince, it's a great event, and a lot of people look forward to it so much that their garages may be filled with some electronic devices, although the convenience centers do accept them on a regular basis.
That's correct. If you can't make it this Saturday, the convenience centers will take these.
And that's all of our convenience centers do, accept recycled electronics that are no longer of any usable quality.
Yes, sir.
Very good, and well, we're anxious to see the turnout. I hope that there's quite a bit. Anybody have anything on this?
No, good, just a great thing. If I'm not mistaken, didn't at one point were they giving away an iPad or something for a chance to enter?
Times are tough of refurbished laptop this year.
Usually a refurbished.
Yeah, okay.
laptop.
Yeah. Right.
We used to have 2 events, or Solid Waste used to have 2 events, one at the mall, but I think it was decided to have the one event up at the fairgrounds, a little bit easier for vehicular traffic and better traffic flow. So.
Super.
Well, it's always a well-run event, too. I'll tell you, we get a lot of volunteers that keeping it move.
And I was just going to say, y'all, you make it so easy because you direct the traffic, and there's someone there that collects their raffle ticket, and they say, okay, pull up here, pop your trunk, we'll unload it for you. You don't even have to get out of your car, I think, and that you got enough volunteers. So it's really extremely easy to get this stuff offloaded and off your hands, and you guys do a great job with that.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes, which were none. The informational items, anybody? Thank you. Next item is the consent agenda. Item H has been pulled.
Move to approve as amended.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner O'Brien, seconded by Commissioner Davis. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. On public discussion items, item 10B is a request to speak by Jose Lambiat regarding the gun shows at the Indian River Fairgrounds. Jose, yes, please come on down. Thank you and welcome.
Gentlemen, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. Jose Lambier, 1430 Treasure Cove Lane, unincorporated. I'd like to ask you respectfully today to consider not having gun shows at the fairgrounds anymore. I understand that a lot of collectors, a lot of people who are outdoorsmen love the gun show. However, you cannot guarantee as a body that guns traded on your land, on my land, on everybody else's land, is not going to end up in the hands of criminal. It's not going to end up used in an action like the one in Newtown in December. The federal government is very clear about gun shows. There are loopholes which allow people to trade, buy guns without as much as a background check on your territory, on your land, the fairgrounds. You can go in there, no background check, no paperwork, no questions asked, and you can walk out with a gun. I'm not the one who says that. That's what the federal government says. There's something you can do about it, I think. You have the right, without state interference, without the $5,000 fine that hangs over some of you guys' heads when you're considering something against guns, that you have done things like not allowing certain legal people, legal businesses from going to the fairground. I know the gun show is legal. I was told by Parks and Recs that you nixed a plan to have a rap concert or a rap show a few months ago, a couple years ago, at the fairground. Rap is legal. There was a fear of violence, apparently. I'll submit to you that a gun show, while there will be no violence at the gun show, could create violence a year later when the handgun ends up in the wrong people's possession. So I'd like to ask you a couple of things. Number one, if you would consider not having gun shows there. It's public property. I think that not everybody is a stooge of the NRA. I don't think everybody agrees to have a gun show. Number two, if you would create a board of citizens, volunteers, to screen the people who want to use the fairgrounds. Do we know whether the gun show producers have a record, don't have a record, are liable financially, have insurance? We don't know any of these things. I don't think you guys should screen that because you have better things to do, but I think you could create a board to do that for you. And finally, would you please ask the Sheriff's Department to have undercovers at the gun show, if there is one, to make sure that every transaction in there is legal. Thanks for listening. I appreciate it.
Mr. Lambiet,
Yes, sir.
I want to thank you for exercising your First Amendment right regarding our Second Amendment as we stand before our great American flag.
Yes, sir.
With that, I will tell you that at least some of those items, the Sheriff's Office does have immediate contact and presence. So I think that if you want to look at what happens at the fairgrounds, we've had continual safe practice and an environment where there's been no incident. I understand your concern is with the implementation of firearms and not necessarily with the retail of firearms.
There's 6 dealers in town, or even 7.
And there are many shows that happen within Indian River County, and in addition, there are many dealers and the pawn shops as well.
Yes, sir.
That do exchange firearms, adhere by the law. And with that, you had 2 other questions. I'd like to ask Mike Zito to perhaps come up to the other podium or up to the dais here and talk a little bit about the fairground program with the firearm sales that occur and what does happen to best clarify your inquiry.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Michael Zito, Assistant County Administrator, for the record. Applications to hold events at the fairgrounds fall in 2 distinct categories. One is an administrative approval, and as long as it's a legal purpose. And with respect to gun shows, being that the whole field of firearms regulation is preempted to the state, staff has never come forward with a recommendation for this board to address any rule or regulation regarding firearms. We did have a prohibition against firearms in the parks, and as you know, recently we were required legally to eliminate that reference from the code. With respect to the reference to the rap concert, that's the other side of the approval process as written in the county code. It's a separate ordinance for review of music festivals, and that does have a specific set of criteria, and I would imagine the reference to the prohibition against that event was that it did not meet the standards in the eyes of the commission to approve that event. So 2 distinct processes.
And again, we have an obligation for the general safety and welfare of all of the citizens of Indian River County, and the sheriff is entrusted with that element and does a fine job and does have a presence at the fairgrounds, at events, and perhaps it was perceived that we would not be able to accommodate the safety and security concerns that would be brought on by such a large-scale event by many individuals, as opposed to a retail environment that is an orderly exchange by licensed people with a bond, and they have conducted themselves very well here in Indian River County as far as the all of the gun shows. There has never been an incident. I hope there never is an incident anywhere, any incident of any type. However, the best is done to move forward to ensure that this retail exchange is done in a very safe fashion. Mr. Z, do you have anything else to address there? Gentlemen?
I just, I don't know whether you've had an opportunity to go to the gun show at the fairgrounds.
I have gone to gun shows, not this particular one,
Yeah.
but they're all organized by the same 2 or 3 companies.
It was good. I mean, they had the Gators.
It's very
Game Boys up.
interesting.
Sure,
There's no doubt
absolutely
it's
is.
interesting.
And I didn't feel threatened or anything like that. And
Neither did I.
I think that it's an appropriate use of a large building. And so I guess I must say that I am a lifetime member of the NRA and have been since I've been 16 years old. So it's going to be more of a philosophical disagreement here. And if you need action on this today, I'd be more than happy to make the motion that we continue doing what we're doing. But I don't know if that's whether you want or after action today.
It's up to you guys.
Okay.
I'm not asking for any action immediately or even in the future. I just want to bring it to your attention that the county is changing. Not everybody is in the same camp when it comes to this in this county.
I move we keep doing what we're doing. If he's after action.
Well, hear from the rest of the board.
Well, also, there's also a recent court case after 13 years in court, the Nordyke versus King litigation, that if you follow the history of that over the 13 years of how that went through the court system, the courts have permitted and justified with limited exception the use of having gun shows at public facilities like a fairground type facility, and that was a long battle on both sides, but it was appealed and then the decisions were kept, but the Ninth Circuit was the end of the road for that case after 13 years, permitting the use of gun shows at public facilities such as the fairgrounds. So there is some significant court litigation behind that in favor of the promoters that want to do these types of shows and use a public facility such as that. So, and I have a copy of that if you'd like one.
No, I did read up on that. Is my time up, or can I add one last thing?
Please, it should.
I appreciate that, and I appreciate your patience. The owner of the gun show said in the paper the other day that $60,000 worth of guns were traded there. I don't know what they paid to the community to be able to use the fairgrounds, but for my calculation, it's probably less than $1,500 for the day. We should get our cut. There should be some kind of a way to either jack up the rates for certain things at the fairgrounds or to somehow get our cut. I don't know how to, but there's a lot of money being passed around there. You know, I'm a homeowner. I pay a lot of tax money. Maybe gun owners should do the same thing when it comes to the gun show.
Well, and again, I don't believe that would be permissible. You mentioned that we have a $5,000 fine dangling above us.
Yes, you do.
I'm not concerned about that either. You know, when it's the right thing, it's the right thing. And I believe that probably we would get into more litigation, but again, not concerned. It's the right thing.
I appreciate your time.
Mr. Solari, anything? You know, I see a few hands up, and I think that some people took the time to be here. Perhaps maybe we would invite them to the podium if they would like to speak on this issue. This issue is a sensitive issue, and I understand that. And I understand that in Washington there's been a lot of talk about the changes. There will be changes, we anticipate. But at this juncture, I believe that we have the support to continue doing what we're doing and how we're doing it.
I appreciate your patience.
But your awareness is very important as well. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Good morning. Renee Renzi, Waverly Place, Vero Beach. I'm very disappointed that you couldn't support Mr. Lambert's argument. I don't think he's worried about what will happen at the gun show, but what will happen to the culture it promotes. There's where the damage is, not at an organized show, but the encouragement it gives people to trade for guns. It's horrible. I think it's totally wrong and dangerous, and I wish you'd take a firmer stand on behalf of the public. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Renzi.
I'm going to comment to that one.
Are you fixing to call me
I find
damaged?
that offensive. I mean, we have a federal government, which was mentioned, that has programs like Fast and Furious, which puts guns in the hands of criminals, yet legal citizens of Indian River County are supposed to not be able to go to a show where they can just, in a rational fashion, discuss this. And this is with the Constitution, with the Second Amendment, which understands why we have certain rights. I mean, if you're worried about people doing wrong things with guns, first talk to the federal government. Sorry about that. Just a little.
Thank you very much,
for quite a
Mr.
while.
Solari.
Bringing up the Second Amendment, someone argued to me a couple of weeks ago, I'm a lifelong member of the NRA and I'm proud of it. And I said, oh, which well-ordered militia do you belong to? That's the point of the Second Amendment.
No, ma'am. No.
Not crazy people running around with guns.
District of Columbia versus Heller very clearly stated that the right to a gun has nothing to do with a militia. It goes to the individual. I've got the case right here, ma'am, if you want to borrow it and read it.
Well, I can read and understand English, and that's the way I see the Second Amendment.
Okay, well then you are smarter than the Supreme Court of the United States.
I'd also like to say, if you canvass the country and you look at the states and cities that have the most restrictive gun laws, still have the highest murder rates. Chicago, Washington, D.C., where
New York City.
And the murder rates in Chicago passed up, almost 600 last year? So you can't legislate morality by rules and regulations, so thank you.
We'll let the antis go first.
Sir?
Well, good morning, Commissioners. I'm a veteran. Thank you for your Purple Heart thing.
Thank you for your service. Your name?
Let me tell you something that I think everybody here, as well as yourself, and if any of y'all ever went to sell scrap metal out at the recycle place?
Yes.
Yes.
What does it require?
More now than it used
Fingerprint, driver's license.
Okay.
Your vehicle tag.
Metal to sell.
Okay.
And a scan.
All right, so you can't sell scrap metal without identification that's got a picture ID, is that correct?
That's correct.
That's what the law says. Now, let's remember, that's what the law says. It doesn't mean that's what's going to happen. If I was to walk in here with a pistol on my side, there wouldn't be a second thought. I mean, it's pretty common today. You can go a lot of places and see firearms. But if I walked in here with an AR-15, I myself would be a little excited about something like that. I think it's like having a can of gas beside a fire. As long as they don't come together, things are fine. But when they do, we all know what happens. You have to remember that when you bring together a crowd of people, have anybody ever been outside of a place where there's a big party, and where do you find the underage drinking? Not on the premises of usually the fairgrounds, it's outside. So you got a guy standing out there by his car, and he has a small little piece of paper and saying, I may have what you're looking for. End of story. So what you've done is you've created a scene to where someone can manipulate the things that are going on there. We all know, I own guns. I know Richard Davis because him and I grew up in this town together. And we used to hunt deer in Vero Lake Estates. But the point is, we have a serious issue, and God, all of us know it took a long time to convince people you couldn't drink and drive. How many of y'all ever been stopped? Well, I won't go there. Let's not. We all know that we've all been guilty at some time or another, whether we were 16 or 25 or 50 or 75. But my point is, I've got a nephew that killed his best friend, drunk, driving 105 miles an hour. What we're talking about here today is not outlawing guns. What we need to be talking about, what steps can we take that are logical, not defensive, and just recognize that there is an issue. Now, one of you said something about in some states that's got the strictest gun laws have some of the highest problems. Well, let me tell you my side of it. About a month ago in West Palm Beach, a 17-year-old got killed by the police. And the guy's uncle just absolutely made this huge scene on the TV. Now, if I had a neighbor that I really thought was a threat to my community, God forbid if I go to the police and say, so-and-so in his house has got a bazooka. You're not going to go in my neighbor's house and get it. I can tell you that right now. We all know you can't do that. But sometimes, if you're willing to step up and say we have an issue, which is what I think the gun show is, people are starting to want to say, wait a minute, have we turned a blind eye to some of the issues that's going on? Now, I can argue with you or you or you, but let's not, arguing does not resolve this issue. What I'm thinking, I was here on 750, somebody said this is the biggest crowd we've had since we had the sand pits out west of Vero Beach. What was that commission that said that? There was a commission that said it was the biggest crowd since that time.
Probably Bob.
Oh, crap. May have been.
But the fact is, how many of you are here because of what's, are you here for the gun thing or are you here for some other purpose? Could you raise your hand? This lady. Now, I don't know how big of an issue you have, but I do believe that whether you stop this or not, I find it kind of amazing because it's public property. If I was to go out there with a sign that was 4x4 and I spoke my opinion, I would bet you I would get some very unfortunate language at me because somebody that's on the opposite side would voice. Now, the guys walking beside him that might feel the same way I do, there could be a confrontation. This is a very hot button item. So what I'm saying is, if the county does not require a picture ID, okay, security on the outside of the fairgrounds where, I mean, once again, this is what you're doing. When I was a teenager, I didn't buy beer at the place that asked me for my age. I went to the place that had the least resistance, folks. And what do you think you're creating out there? You're requiring the least resistance to maybe get your hands on something you don't need. Or maybe, I shouldn't say need, that maybe you shouldn't have for reasons unknown. So, if you come to my house, I don't serve you alcohol. If you want to drink at my house, you bring your own. Because if you drive out of my driveway, somebody's not going to sue me because I served you alcohol. I'm telling you, God forbid if something happens, we all have to remember, we have to think about what we need to do to make sure it doesn't happen. I would like to think you would tell the people that are coming, we are going to have someone in there undercover that is going to approach you to buy a firearm. And let's not say the 38 or whatever. Let's say somebody wants to buy an AR-15 and find out if we really are going to require picture ID. You got to have a picture ID to vote today. And sure. I think it's time that you really make people feel, you can do this. You can make people feel more comfortable. But sure. I think you need to be vocal.
2 points. Your name and address for the record?
My name is Frederick L. Lifford. I live at 2536 First Street, Vero Beach, Florida 32962, military number 2491.
Well, I wasn't asking for all that. I appreciate your service. We need that for the record for the clerk of the court.
Yes, ma'am. That's right. I'm sorry.
And thank you.
Do that.
And
but
the
anyway,
second statement you made that I just wanted to address, that there is a presence at the fairgrounds during the firearm sales I would prefer to have the sheriff, if he wanted to disclose whether there is a uniform or non-uniform presence. I see both since I did work in the sheriff's office,
Yes,
but
I
I would like him to be given the opportunity, if he wanted to let you know what his entire safety and security plan is. I assure you that there is a presence and that it's being done in a safe and orderly fashion. And the safety and security of the citizens of Indian River County is of the utmost importance. During the show, during any show, whether it be the antique show, whether it be the nautical show, or the touch-a-truck show, whatever is happening at the fairgrounds is done to the highest degree of safety and security that can be afforded to you, the citizen.
Well, I have been to the gun show in Fort Pierce.
Now, I'm not going to comment on anything that is happening in Fort Pierce.
Well, I'm
We're
just
concerned
saying,
about what's happening at the Indian River County Fairgrounds, sir.
All I'm saying is I don't expect you or the gun people here to perhaps run a background check, but I still believe it should be a picture ID that is the person in it, that they have a document piece of paper, and that it is filled out, and that every gun that is sold should be issued to Indian River County as a backup so that we also have some kind, and whether you can require that, I don't know. I'm just saying, you can help make it where people are not uncomfortable, and it's by showing you're taking the necessary steps to try to at least give some kind of security.
Thank you very much. Ma'am, did you want to speak? Sure. Again, this is a request to speak, but I see that many of you have taken the time to come here today, and we run a very open meeting, and thank you. Good morning.
Hi,
Your
my
name?
name's Larry Graham. I'm a resident of District 4, and I hope you'll bear with me. I don't speak publicly that often, so I made a few prepared notes, if I could read those. This request to ban gun shows, the use of public facilities, is nothing less than a tyrannical attack upon my personal freedom and liberty. If successful, it would deny access to a first-class venue that promotes safety, diversity, and American values. The 12,000 or so visitors and vendors to these shows in 2012 spent untold dollars that indirectly filter into our local community. Most make purchases of food and gasoline when they visit the community. Many of them receive overnight lodging. With over 1 million concealed carry permit holders in Florida, Indian River County's 138,000 residents should have about 7,742 concealed carry permit holders. Let me briefly go away from my notes, and they're trained to know that you cannot bring a firearm into the county commission chambers. That's a violation of existing law. Many of these residents rely upon the gun shows for the latest information on firearms, safety training, and product information, making Indian River County a safer place to live and raise children. This from a January 9th of this year, Scripps Howard News Service article out of Naples, Florida. Quote, the firearm-involved violent crime rate has dropped 33% in Florida between 2007 and 2011, while the number of issued concealed carry permits rose nearly 90% during that time period, state records show. Additionally, Florida has 189,500 hunting license holders that contribute over $5,300,000 annually to conservation initiatives in the state. This reduces the taxpayers' direct burden to fund these initiatives. I don't know how much of that Indian River County receives, but I'm certain that you get your fair share of it. Please make no mistake, this is not a question of the proper use of public facilities. This is a backdoor approach to usurp the protections granted to our citizens under our Bill of Rights. If the Commission feels they must act, then please just rope off a 1 square foot section of the parking lot representing the gentleman's share of the property, deny the gun show access to that 1 square foot section. We see nightly news stories of rampant crime, murder, and corruption infesting Palm Beach County and others, and we see many former residents escaping to Indian River County from their crime-ridden neighborhoods down south. Do not let them bring their misguided beliefs that support and encourage criminals into our homes. I urge you to do not fall victim to this perverted form of fear-mongering political correctness and deny residents free and full access to a venue highlighting one of America's founding principles, that's freedom. Any questions?
Well written.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My name's Eva York. I live in the Vero Beach Highlands. I used to be a registered nurse. I've been married 30 years to a captain from St. Lucie County who's retired now. As you can see, I have a few little baubles on my hand. I drive 2007 Escalade, and as my husband says, I'm a sitting duck for anybody that wants my truck, wants my rings, or wants to hurt me. I can't run like most people because I was in a motor vehicle accident 10 years ago. So I either sit there and take it, or I wanted to do something about it. I'm tired of being a statistic. So I went and took my nice little classes. But before I did, for over a year, I went to Fort Lauderdale. I went to Tampa. I went to Fort Pierce. And I started out in Vero at my gun shows. I became knowledgeable. I made my choices, my American choices, to stand at my flag, not stand on my flag. I'm an American first. And just like Mr. Jose Lambert got up here and made his choice to stand up and talk about what he feels his choice is, he has every right not to attend one. I made my choice for over a year to educate myself as to where a gun can and cannot go. And had I been behind Mr. Loeffner in Arizona, we wouldn't have had those deaths. And had I been there and heard that window crash in Connecticut, we wouldn't be having those funerals, because I would have taken care of Adam Lanza. I have 6 grandbabies under the age of 5. When that gun is not on my side and not locked up in my vehicle, when I'm at public meetings like this, it's locked up in my safe, because I am smart enough and intelligent enough to know what to do with my gun. The main issue is not necessarily with that gun. It is whether or not that person that is mentally sick and has not received the proper help. And it gets to the point where they explode. I'm not condoning what they did, because Mr. Lanza knew to put earplugs in his ear so that he didn't have to listen to what he was doing to those children. And he repeatedly changed magazines over and over and over. So no matter what size magazines Mr. Lanza had in that Connecticut school, whether it held 200 or 12 like my Glock holds, it wouldn't have mattered. And this is what I've tried to teach who I can. Am I a member of the NRA? Yes. But I am an American first. And I am proud to say I am a Republican second. I'm a mother and a grandmother and a wife, and I could go on and on and on. But I have a heart just like a Democrat does, and a mommy and a wife, and you go on and on and on. Yes, we have to save our grandchildren. And I'm willing to sit down and talk with everybody, but not when you're jumping on the back of a bandwagon and wanting to get media support, you know. But I'm proud to see that my commissioners stood up I said what they did this morning to the American flag were those gentlemen that come up here. And some of them weren't there to get their Purple Hearts. So I'm proud to say I'm an American first. And I'm glad that I had the choice to carry a gun or not to carry a gun. So thank you, gentlemen. Ma'am. And I'm sorry if I mispronounce anybody's names, but thank you very much for giving me the chance to even stand up here. In America, we can do that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, Mr. Lambiet had asked a pointed question if we wanted to continue on. I think we answered most of Mr. Lambiet's questions. Commissioner Davis, you had, we don't normally make motions during public speaking requests. However, in the spirit of addressing Mr. Lambiet's inquiry, I did hear Commissioner Davis make a statement.
If it's after a motion, I don't mind making a motion to continue our current procedures.
Second. Motion made by Commissioner Davis, seconded by Commissioner Fleischer. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is a request to speak from Robert L. Smith regarding initiating a change to the nonconformities regulations to eliminate the one-year cessation of the use rule, reestablish grandfathered in status for 4380 38th Avenue. Mr. Smith, good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Good morning.
And your name and address for the record?
My name is Robert Smith. My address is 2451 North Seacrest in Boynton Beach, Florida.
Thank you.
I wanted to address the county commissioners that, first of all, I want to apologize about last Tuesday. I was on the road, didn't make it. I was stuck in traffic, and so I had to reschedule everything for this Tuesday. But I wanted to talk to the commissioners about the old Greenleaf bar that's recited that I have. I did a I purchased the Greenleaf bar with a lease options to buy, but the thing about it is the commissioners had given me 90 days to improve the building. The problem is that the grandfather status is blocking me from improving anything on the building. So I'm here to try to work something out where that I can move forward. I want to do a lot of work on the building. The 90 days that you have given me was up because I couldn't do anything with the building. I went down to the planning and zoning, and they wouldn't release me to have any permits pulled or nothing. I can't turn the lights on or nothing to even start on the building to get it improved. So I'm looking to move forward on the building about, my bank want to, give me anything that I need to improve it, but right now it's condemned, demolition, and I want to try to change that so I can go ahead and get started. My bank looking for information to go forward where I can go inside and do some kind of improvement. But I can't do it because the grandfather status. It's been closed down for over a year. I don't have anything that I thought I did. I thought we did have anything to establish that it did have occupancy during that year period of time, but it's not. I purchased it, and I'm looking to open it up as a restaurant lounge, something that can help the community, create jobs, also erase any negative about the building. I want to put forth something great on the building. And I want to bring in celebrities, old school style, rock, country, blues, jazz, stand-up comedy. I got a lot of people right now waiting on me to redo this building so that they can come out and help me out and make this a great place in River County. Now, this building has been here since maybe the early 60s. It's the only place that you can go for African Americans and anybody else that want to come. It is the only place that's in the inner River County that you can come to. Now, I'm sorry about what happened during the time that it got ready to close down, the little violence, maybe a death or whatever. I'm not looking at that. I'm looking at improvement. I'm looking at something that can be able to draw a lot of people to come into this city of Indian River County. I'm looking for somewhere that African Americans can go where that they can be able to address themselves as neatly as possible and with great class. I want to bring that there at that site. I need help with the county to help me with these goals that I want to do there. There's a lot of great things I want to do to that building that can make it better than it used to be. So I want to improve it. You give me the opportunity, you give me the 90 days to improve it. I didn't want to go in there and do anything without a permit. So I couldn't improve it until we, I guess, discussed this grandfather status. That's the only thing that's blocking me for improving it. I want to do it right. I want to do it legal. And I need y'all help to help me move forward in improving this building for the 90-day period. If I need an additional, I'm asking y'all to give me that too. But I want to get this building and put a positive, not a negative, a positive place for we to go at, because there's no other place for us to go at so that we can enjoy ourselves as adults and show in River County that what had happened was one of the worst mistakes, but we're going to correct it by going out and celebrating in this place. And I can bring celebrities, I can bring entertainment, I can bring stand-up comedy, I can do all of that. But I need help in improving this building and move forward. And I want to get everybody, pull the permits, jobs are here, and also jobs when I open up for the citizens. And that's what I want to do. But when you ball it in and you ain't got no place to go, you travel far, you want to have a good time, you're boxed in a zone, and you want to go out and have a good time, but you don't want to ride far because you're drinking. You have to have designated drivers and all that. It's a problem in the River County for the African American community because they don't have nowhere to go. If they have to go, they have to go to Melbourne, they have to go to Fort Pierce, they have to go to West Palm Beach. Well, this is a place to go at for adults, grown folks, not children, not the hip hopping, but the old school. And we can show them how to go out and have a good time. And we can show them how to dress. We show them how to get in their cars and leave and go home respectably. We can do that if we had the opportunity to have a place where we can do it at. I wish that I had a place out of that residential area so that we can put something like that together, but it ain't. I got this place and I'm gonna deal with it. I need your support. I need your help on this because I can guarantee you that I have this place up and running for grown folks, dressed well, with class, with dignity. And that's what I want to do with this building. I'm sorry that the deaths was there. I'm sorry that the problem was there. I'm sorry about that. I can't do nothing about that. But what I can do is put this building together and show the whole Indian River County that we ain't about that.
Mr. Smith, thank you for your input on this, and I want you to know that when you first addressed us and we had that first conversation, I believe myself and several commissioners felt that this was a great vision, and you were afforded the opportunity to be able to research and explore on the capacity and what your resources could be to accomplish your vision, your goal. And again, it's a very valiant idea and an exciting idea that perhaps would promote jobs and promote entertainment and get a business and maintain it on the tax rolls. We get it. It was a very exciting concept. However, you did run into some trials and tribulations, and before we have the opportunity to speak, I would like to ask Stan Bowling, Bob Keating, and Jose Gausch as well to come and talk about some of the trials and tribulations that you've had and the reason for your request today.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Good morning, gentlemen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For the record, I'm Stan Bowling, County Planning Director. I do want to just give a little bit of background to the subject site. The site is outlined here in red, and it's located within the Gifford community. 45th Street or Martin Luther King Boulevard is here east-west at toward the top of the screen. That is a collector road. The site is off of 38th Avenue, which is a local road that goes all the way from 45th down to 41st Street. And the site is a little bit under an acre in size. There's quite a bit of undeveloped property around it, but a residential area as well. This is a zoning map that shows the entire area around Greenleaf, and the former Greenleaf site here in red again is zoned residential multifamily up to 10 units per acre. There is a small CL limited commercial zone site that's been zoned that way for as far back as I can see in our records. The Q and Stew, I think, is still operating on that site. It's a very small facility. But again, the area is residential all the way around the subject site. This is a picture of the site looking from the north. 38th Avenue is over here on the right-hand side of the screen, 44th Street, kind of looking across that. And a couple of things I just wanted to point out on the site itself. First of all, the site, there's never been a site plan. The site's never been formally improved, so there are what we call site-related nonconformities. There's no formal parking or drainage or landscaping, that sort of thing. Also, there's building setback nonconformities with the existing building. The building you can see here, essentially, it's one building. The back half, you kind of see the shape that it's in. And this is pretty much the way that the site looks today. Back on October 2nd, Mr. Smith came to the board and asked that there be no action to demolish the building, that he be given a due diligence period, and that was granted. And in fact, I had an opportunity to talk to Mr. Smith right after the board discussion on October 2nd to find out exactly what his plans were, to see what zoning category it would go in. He gave me some information that he had. Staff went back and researched, kind of reconstructed our timeline to see if there was any way that the former use was grandfathered in. The use that Mr. Smith proposes is a bar or lounge type of use that still requires commercial zoning. And in going back through the timeline, staff about a week later sent a letter to Mr. Smith and outlined what we had found. And I don't think there's any disagreement on the facts. Back in August of 2007, the property owner's engineer issued a letter stating that there were structural problems with the building and that it was created an unsafe building situation. 3 days later, this is August 27th, 2007, the entire building was posted with a notice, and here's an image of it, that the building is unsafe for human use or occupancy, that it was unlawful for any person to enter the building except for the purpose of making the required repairs or demolishing this building. There's never been a permit pulled or repair work done since this was posted. Also, a couple of other items. Subsequently, I know, as you all are aware, the board did make a finding that the building was unsafe and was a nuisance, and authorized staff to initiate the demolition process. Also, just want to note a couple of other facts. There's been no electrical service to the site since September 15, 2009, and no water consumption since August of 2011. And in fact, in September of 2011, the customer requested that utilities padlock the water meter, and that was done. So part of the kind of the due diligence that I think Mr. Smith did was working with staff, trying to get any evidence that he had. We issued the letter back in October. I think since October, Mr. Smith has tried himself to find, get his hands on any other evidence that there was a continuation of the use, and he found none. And in December, he sent me a letter and asked if staff could waive, our requirement, our nonconformity requirement, and give him another chance. And I stated that staff did not have that authority. He had the option to either appeal staff's decision or come before the board and ask that the LDRs, the land development regulations, be changed. And again, I don't think Mr. Smith has a disagreement with any of staff's findings or the interpretation of our code. And as I mentioned to Mr. Smith, staff does not recommend that the board make any changes to this particular aspect of our nonconformities. It's very fundamental to our nonconformities rules and regulations. So I think essentially the due diligence that Mr. Smith has partaken in, he's found that there's really no way to grandfather in what's out there to reopen the bar or lounge use. And essentially staff's finding is that any redevelopment or development of the site will have to be under the current zoning. Also want to just mention, I know that Julianne Price is here, Health Department has had a couple of safety issues, and as with any kind of issue, planning issue that's within the Gifford community, as you all know, for a number of years now, we faithfully contact the community, and I believe Ms. Price has spoken with some of the community representatives, and my understanding is that it's their preference that the ordinance stay as it is and it be enforced the way it's been enforced in other similar situations. That's just kind of some background on what staff found during this due diligence period, and I'd be glad to try to answer any questions any of you all might have.
Gentlemen?
Go ahead, Commissioner.
Well, I mean, I understand exactly what you're going through. I've seen it a lot, especially in the business that I'm in. If it's been closed down for a period of time, and sometimes, quite frankly, I don't agree with that. That just because it's been vacant or closed down, that it's considered a change of use, and if you want to go back in there and open it back up, then you would have to go through all of the bureaucratic regulations, red tape, and everything. This is a little bit different. And what I see so different is you got to go so far back to get it to be functional again. In looking at the hurricane damage and everything like that, I don't know that we're doing the public a service by allowing that. If this were an industrial type use and you wanted to change it from industrial to office space, and it was still functional, but yet the electricity had been off, I would agree with that. I would move to change staff's mind. That's a very liberating motion whenever I made it once. But in this instance, I got to agree with them in this, and I think that this is too far gone to be able to come back and just do patches to make it safe and to bring it back up to code.
Well, here's the thing. It ain't a problem with me improving it, because, like I said, here's another thing. Like he was saying, now he's talking about the back half of this building. I have the outside pictures on.
That's all.
The back half of this building. Only thing that's the problem with this building is the back roof of this building. That's the only problem. Is getting the roof redone and the drywall and stuff and rewiring it. I mean, professionally. This building is not far gone as they say it is. It's just a roof is the back roof. The front part is superb. You can go in there. It is safe. We can even have an inspection in the front part, and you can see that it's safe. The back part of this building is unsafe. I know that. I'm a retired carpenter. I know this. It ain't no problem with me fixing the building up. Here's what what I'm talking about is that I can't improve it because it's not allowed for me to improve it until we figure out the grandfather status. Now, since we saying grandfather status, if I had any kind of bill or whatever that it proved that it was functioning, I didn't lose my grandfather status, we wouldn't be here arguing with this right now. If I had a light bill or whatever stating that I was continuing to have something going on, so we wouldn't be having this issue. My thing is that to me, it is not too far gone. It's just we need to put the roof on it, stuck on it, rewiring it, drywalling it, it's done. It's just the back half of it. I got pictures here on it. And the only thing that's wrong with the building is the back half roof. And by it's been sitting there and the rain been raining in there, so the drywall and stuff gone. So the electric is going in the back half, not the phase one, front half. It's the back half. That's the only thing that's wrong with this building. And that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the grandfather status in the building. Now, if I'd have had some kind of paperwork or whatever stating that this building was occupied, we paid the lights or whatever, then the grandfather status wouldn't be in jeopardy. And we still would have had the opportunity to have this place reopened. That's my fight. That's what I'm talking about right now. The opportunity, just like y'all told me, to give me 90 days to improve it. And you said that. So how can I get 90 days? You give me 90 days to improve it. All right, let me improve it. You give me the 90 days, let me improve it. As simple as that. Let me improve it. You gave me the 90 days, let me improve it. But I don't have the opportunity to improve it because of the grandfather. We keep going back in this issue. It's the issue. And it shouldn't be, because I understand that, but this is a history building. I know a lot of you don't understand that. But when you're coming in and you're going in and you're going to a place that you ain't got nowhere else to go. And over the years and the years and years, I know everybody can say a lot about this building, because a lot of them don't understand what took place in this building. And what we went through in this building, we ain't had to go far and ain't had to, driving while, drunk and stuff, a long distance and stuff. And this building been here way before all of that around there been there. All I'm saying is the opportunity to improve the building, like you give me, on record. You haven't even given me a chance to improve it.
Mr.
You told
Smith.
me I can improve it, but you ain't giving me a chance to improve it.
Mr. Smith, I believe you were given the opportunity.
I couldn't pull the permits.
I believe that you were given the opportunity to explore all of the avenues in which you could. And I happen to agree with Commissioner Davis. I don't feel comfortable with the fact that because a place wasn't used, well, now we have to not go near that building again. It wasn't the case of not choosing to operate at the business. The building is in far more failure than I believe that you're seeing or identifying. It's not merely the roof. We happen to have Jose, as far as the structure damage, Mr. Smith is stating that it's just the rear roof. I did visit the building. I'm not a structural engineer. I've been in that building. I've seen the outsides of the building over the years. I'd like to ask Jose what he feels about the value and integrity of your efforts and of the building, because I know you've spoken with them.
Yeah, like I told them, I can fix it.
Jose?
Jose Guanch. The building itself, for the most part, the rear portion, the two-story portion of the building, is what is in disarray. Mr. Buddy Akins based his decision on condemning the building on an engineer's letter from NBV stating that the roof was overstressed, it could collapse at any moment, and therefore cause not only a problem for that portion of the building, but take the front portion, or part of the front portion of the building with it as it came down. So therefore, the whole building, the entire building was condemned. The building is without power, has got broken windows. There's a number of issues there that I've never been in the building itself, but I know there are a number of issues with this building, and that being the biggest concern, the structural integrity of the building in its entirety, if you will. Because if the second half of the two-story portion collapses, you could have a problem in the front area also. And that's basically our stance on that. As Stan mentioned, this building was condemned back in 2007 by Buddy Akins. And I mean, we've gone through the entire process of obtaining estimates to do the asbestos survey. We've gone through every step of the way, every procedure the law requires in order to condemn the building and demolish the building. So it's unfortunate that the building has not been open for a period of time required by county regulation. And again, it will take a lot of work to get this building back on track. I'm not sure that the gentleman understands the gravity of the situation.
All of you gentlemen have had the opportunity to interact with Mr. Smith. You've given him everything that he's requested. Is there anything further that he needs to work his decision based on the integrity or value of the building as it stands?
I think, again, the board's vote in October was a due diligence period for Mr. Smith to get with staff to see if there's, first and foremost, the grandfathering status. Is there an approved use for the site that, you know, permits can be pulled under? And we found within the first week, that's why we wanted to be quick with Mr. Smith, look at everything he had, everything we had. We looked at it. I just summarized the facts to you all just a few moments ago. Mr. Smith continued to looked at what he had in December, nothing new. And so, you know, all the evidence shows that the site has not been used at all in much more than 1 year. And so, you know, the grandfathering is gone, and that's where we are. So I think Mr. Smith's, the use of the site for commercial is at a dead end, and that's where all the evidence shows.
Now, I understand that, and that's the reason why I'm here today, because I understood exactly what they were saying about that. Now, for me fixing and improving this building, I can improve this building. I can do everything it needs to be bringing back up the code. I can do that, but I need, like I said, time to do that. So the grandfather status, like I said, here's the issue again. I say this over and over again. If I would have had any kind of paperwork stating that this building was open during that period of time, then we wouldn't have to worry about the grandfather status. I'll have the opportunity to reopen as a lounge or whatever, because I wouldn't have had, I had something going on there, a light bill, a water bill, or whatever. It don't change the fact that it can happen. It can be open, because regardless, if it's been closed down for a year, yes, it had problems with it. The roof was damaged. Nobody didn't fix anything. Now I can fix it. I can fix everything about this building. I can fix it. I just need, like I said, the opportunity. I came in here 90 days. Give me 90 days. I can fix it. Give me whatever it takes to fix it. Let me fix it. But like I said, if I'd have had a light bill, a water bill, or something there, still I would have had the opportunity. The grandfather status wouldn't have been lost. And so that means that I could have continued to reopen it, and when I fix it, and then it's up to code with the county, then I could reopen, because I had something going on there. A light bill, a water bill, or whatever, but it still don't change. I know that y'all pointing back the setbacks and everything, but this building been here for that long. If it wouldn't have, say for instance, would have never had no problem, they would have kept this building up. The roof would have been still done. You can go in there and enjoy yourself right now today. Nobody would complain about the setbacks or none of that, because you couldn't do nothing to them. Because as long as they kept it open, as long as they kept the roof on it, fixed, and it's upgraded, it wouldn't have been no issue. It would have been no issue.
Mr. Chairman, I think maybe that some of the confusion is about the purpose of a grandfather clause. And the purpose of the grandfather clause is not to extend the life of a building as long as possible and make sure that it has every opportunity to continue. The purpose of the grandfather clause, as I understand it, is that in case somebody built a property before zoning laws came, they would not be stripped of their rights.
Right.
Okay, well, this occurred, the building wasn't stripped of its rights, but then it occurred that the building was basically abandoned, and abandoned for a long period of time. The idea of whether there was a light bill or electric bill, again, with my understanding, is simply to show that maybe there was a continued use, and it's given every benefit of the doubt to the person who was using the building. But I think it's clear to everybody in this room that that building wasn't being used for a long period of time.
I know that.
Okay, well then, again, as I understand the grandfather clause, that's the issue, and it's dead. The grandfather clause, regardless of, really, if there had been some electric 11 months ago, is dead. So now it becomes a zoning issue. Mm-hmm. Okay, well, and so, okay, the grandfather is dead. There's no reason to even bring it up anymore. The issue is now whether it's properly zoned, and it's determined that it's not. And again, there's no issue with that. And unless we feel, and the community feels, that the zoning should change, then that type of use simply isn't permitted. And I think we all just have to come to grips with that.
Commissioner
Yes,
Saul.
also, Jose, setting aside the grandfather clause, let's say if that was permitted, hypothetically, if you apply the current version of the Florida Building Code, you would be looking at a pretty staggering list of, you can't put it back together the way it was built originally in 1960. You got to put it together to meet the wind speed maps of today, the impact windows, doors, fire egress, fire sprinkler system, ADA bathrooms, elevator to the second floor portion of the building. So you're looking at hundreds of thousands of dollars of cost minimum.
Absolutely.
And then you've got ADA new bathrooms, water and sewer ERUs. You got a list of stuff to where the number quickly becomes hundreds of thousands of dollars overnight, which in that particular building, and I'm familiar with it, I haven't been to it in the last 6 months or so, but I've been by it, and it's been something that was in the community for a long time. But the building itself is just kind of beyond its life since the storm damage kind of put the finishing touch on it.
That is correct. It falls under, as a minimum, an alteration level 3, which means you really need to bring that building into complete
all the way up,
compliance. Yes.
right.
Mr. Smith, when you made your first presentation to us, you made it clear that you would be able to prove that there was a usage. And at that point, I believe that this board gave you the opportunity to be able to explore and produce any records of events that took place, any occurrences, and we also directed staff to see if there was utility bills that can support that or any other activity. And my understanding is that that has not been established either on your part or on staff's part, that there was any existence of any activity that could be legally operating inside of that building. If there were no utilities, you could not have an occupancy. If you could not have an occupancy, then we could not go back to that grandfathered clause. So if that's the case, and we did not know that at that time, that's why you were extended the opportunity to be able to explore all of your capacity, your resources, and the ability to move forward. I believe that staff has determined that that is not going to take place, and it has been bounded by several of us as well.
Well, yeah, and when I talked to the County Commission on 5 too, I said that this building can be improved up to code. I said I can do that, and you said, okay, it's going to cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. I said, okay, give me the opportunity to improve it. That's what I wanted. I came in, that's what I said I wanted to do. Okay, like he said, let's set aside the grandfather status. I can improve the building up the code. I can get that done. I need the time to do that. To get it up the code, get it where the county say, okay, it is safe that you can go in. That's what I'm here for now, for that too. To improve the building, to get it up the code, to get it safe.
I don't know if you're hearing our staff's recommendation as far as their expertise looking at this building. You know, I wouldn't suggest that they go inside the building to examine. That's how bad it is. It appears that way from the aerial. It appears that way from the perimeter. And there has been nobody inside of that building for several years for a very strong reason. It is in very much disrepair.
Well, I've been in it. I have been in it. Matter of fact, I've talked to Mr. Bolin, and I told him that I went down to the city to get, because I couldn't see in there because I wanted to see what's all the damage and stuff. And I went inside the building and everything, and then I know this, and I know that as from the outside looking in, it looks really, I'm talking about really bad. But from the inside looking out, the building, I can improve the building to get it up the code and get it right. But okay, say for instance, now I got this building, I got this building. So what I'm saying is that we're going to demolish this building, take it away or whatever, or the opportunity to do anything. I want to revive this building. I want to do whatever I can to fix it, get it right. I'm asking the opportunity to get it right. That's what I want to do. So I'm looking and I'm searching. I'm searching for something, the way that I can do it. Now, I know that it's been damaged. I know all of this. I had a building in Boynton, and it's similar, but they gave me the opportunity to fix it. They gave me the opportunity to do everything. What that building there, when compared to the building I have done in Boynton, and them people did it. I got paperwork and everything on that. What I'm saying is, I need to move forth in redoing this building. This building is a real issue to the Indian River County, and I don't understand that. I really don't. The issue with, I done heard a few people, they're saying this and saying, I don't want to hear that. All I want to do is upgrade this building, get this building done right or whatever. Then the issue, the usage issue, that's what I'm saying. I mean, once we fix it, once I can fix it, with whatever the code is to do it, we can move forward from there. But I don't know what the issue with this building. I mean, everybody got something to say about this building, and I don't understand that. But I have a option lease to buy it. The reason why I did that, because I wanted to handle the status with the county about me saving this building. And so that's why I did a 3-year term. So I have to say something about it because I'm part of it. It's part of my building. That's my building. It's part.
I appreciate your passion about the building, and I realize that it does have some significance to a lot of factors that have a historical value to some extent. Now, I'm reminded about what happened in the city of Sebastian, where a great old building was then supported and actually relocated, and several months later it was determined that the building just had too much disrepair, that we could not go forward, and it was ultimately demolished. It was a good thought and a lot of effort and a lot of energy through staff and yourself, but I believe that this might be a bridge too far, and I think we have to, hit on that hard reality that the building is severely damaged.
Well, and I understand
and it
that.
might be too costly. It might be a better endeavor to look at another facility, or a facility that you can build upon. It probably costs less to build than to have to do all the repairs and upgrades and bringing this up to current standards.
The money's not the issue. I mean, just getting the opportunity to fix it.
Mr. Chairman, yeah. we could probably sit here all day and debate
Yes.
whether Mr. Smith would like to spend his money repairing the building or not, but to me, it really comes down to a use, and currently the use is not allowed. And my first question, Stan, would have been, what does the local community feel about this? Apparently, you've got a little bit of informal feedback that the community would not like to see that use reestablished. I would probably like to hear a little bit more formal statement from the community, where they stand on this. And in that regard, given the fact that there is a small commercial node across the street from this, could they come in and apply for a land use change in a rezoning to make it commercial, which would then require a public hearing before P&Z and a public hearing before this board, where we could formally hear from the community whether they would like to see that use change to allow what Mr. Smith wants to do. Would that be an option they could pursue?
Yeah, let me take that. I'm Bob Keating, County Community Development Director. Actually, it isn't a node. It is just a one parcel that is zoned commercial, which is a holdback from the way it was many years ago. So right now, with our current rules, with our current comp plan, no, we could not do that unless we amended some other policies in the comp plan.
Okay. Well then, Mr. Smith, I do applaud your vision and your commitment to this, but I'm not supportive of changing our grandfather clause. And given the fact there does seem to be some community reaction that they are not in favor of moving this forward, just from my seat, I think it's kind of a dead project at this point.
Commissioner Davis?
I agree.
I agree. Commissioner Zorc?
I'm good.
Commissioner Solari?
I've spoken. I have nothing to add.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Next item on the agenda is item 12J from Utility Services, the delay of the reclaimed water rate increase by 1 year, memorandum dated January 4th, 2013. Mr. Burke, good morning again.
Move staff recommendation.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously with a motion by Commissioner Solari, seconded by Commissioner O'Brien. It happens that way. Didn't get a chance to deliver that speech. Next item is the county attorney matters request for advice and closed attorney-client session related to FVP, Miami Lakes versus Indian River County, memorandum dated January 7, 2013. Good morning, Mr. DeBrawl.
Actually, Mr. Chairman, I'll go ahead and handle this item. Mr. DeBrawl is getting ready for the next two items.
Thank you, Councilor.
As you all know, we have pending litigation against us, FVP Miami Lakes versus Indian River County. We have received a settlement offer from the plaintiff in that case. I do need advice as to how we are to respond to that settlement offer. The Sunshine Law provides for a closed attorney-client session where I can meet with the board and we can discuss that settlement offer. And I therefore would like to do that, and I'd like to do that at 10:30 on February 5, 2013. So I'm requesting that the board authorize us to go ahead and put out a notice of a closed shade meeting to be held at that time to discuss the settlement offer that's been made in this case.
Move staff recommendation.
Second.
Thank you. Motion made by Commissioner O'Brien, seconded by Commissioner Solari. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Still hot from last one.
Thank you. The next item, Councilor, is and the county attorney matters, is the purchase of overlapping property on Regatta Drive from the estate of Daniel Kelly, memorandum dated January 8, 2013. Councilor DeBrawl.
Good morning, Commissioners. Bill DeBrawl on behalf of the County Attorney's Office. Back in the 1960s and 70s, when the Mooring subdivision was being developed, the developer built, surveyed, planned, designed the roadway system in the Mooring subdivision. Some of the roadways were dedicated to the public. Some of them remained private. Regatta Drive, as you can see on your monitors there, Regatta and Springline Drive were both dedicated to the public, not specifically to the county, but just a general dedication to the public benefit. The county has maintained those roads since they have been turned over to the county. You can see on Lot 38, owned by the estate of Daniel Kelly, there's a slight overlap of 0.012 acres. This was discovered when the estate went to sell the property to a new purchaser. It's a vacant lot, 0.74 acres in size. We came up with 3 different options that we could explore at this point. Number 1, we could go ahead with a maintenance map. Number 2, we could do nothing and just allow the cloud on the title to persist. Number 3 was offer $1,000 to go ahead and purchase the right-of-way, extending 1 foot back from the back of curb so that the property would be ours. The cloud would be removed from the title and the sale could proceed without a hitch. Staff is recommending option 3 to go ahead and buy the parcel property, eliminate the overlap for $1,000. If there are any questions, I'd be happy to address.
Yes. Bill, this just seems like a long-time glitch that we're just trying to fix. And how come we just didn't get with the estate and say, hey, normally these things you say for the consideration of $10, both parties agree to this? I mean, wouldn't that have just been an easier way to do it? And why are we spending $1,000 on a tiny piece like this?
It's an expensive piece of property. The per acre value is, as I calculate it, is about $550,000. So, when you get into this type of real estate with this type of price, sometimes you might have to pay a little bit to settle something like this. If we would try and go down the road with a maintenance map, we'd eat up that much in staff time and costs quite easily and quite quickly with the surveying that would be necessary.
Just, I don't know. You'd think both parties would just, this would be a handshake to help them move forward with their sale, and we've supplied their road for them, and that should be worth something, but that's just my opinion.
Commissioner, I think your opinion's right, but I'm going to move staff recommendation.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Solari, seconded by Commissioner Davis. Any further discussion, gentlemen? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
Motion carries 4-1 with Commissioner O'Brien dissenting.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is item C, which is the purchase of property for right-of-way overlapping on land owned by Patrick Sean Free. Memorandum dated January 9, 2013. Councilor?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Patrick Sean Free owns a 5.59 acre parcel of property on 2nd Street in Old Dixie. The western boundary abuts Old Dixie Highway. When we went in and the county replaced the 2-lane bridge with a 3-lane bridge over the South Relief Canal, we went ahead and expanded that portion of Old Dixie. When we did that, we came on to Mr. Free's property and put a sidewalk and curb on the parcel that you see there, shaded in dark gray. That's 0.12 acres in size that we took. We've been discussing this matter with Mr. Free and his attorney for quite some time. We've agreed on the price to settle the matter in a global amount, including all expert witness fees and attorney's fees of $26,000. And additionally, there was a driveway cut that was installed for Mr. Free for ingress-egress to his residentially owned property. Staff's recommendation is to go ahead and accept the $26,000 purchase price and authorize the chairman to sign the needed documents. If there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Gentlemen.
Was there a credit value for the ingress-egress improvement that we made against the price?
I believe staff estimates that was in the neighborhood of $3,000, $4,000, somewhere in there.
Okay.
Anything further?
No.
Gentlemen, your pleasure?
Move to approve.
Second. Motion made by Commissioner Davis, seconded by myself. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Councilor. Next item, we'll move on to special districts and boards. Item B is the Solid Waste Disposal District. Work order number 6 to CDM Smith Incorporated for engineering services with the 2013 annual financial reports. Memorandum dated January 4, 2013.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to move approval of staff recommendation for items B1, B2, and B3.
I would second that with just one comment. On B2 and B3, the price actually went down by $25,000. There was some monitoring that we used to have to do, and it was great to see that some monitoring at one of these pieces of property was finally over. I think this is my first time in 4 years that monitoring actually came to an end, and it's reflected in
it's a milestone, you're correct. Yeah.
It's reflected in a $25,000 savings in that item, so wonderful.
Thank you, gentlemen. That was a motion by Commissioner O'Brien, seconded by Commissioner Solari, regarding items B1, 2, and 3, all are regarding the same component with CDM Smith Incorporated. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Meeting adjourned.
All right, now we got an early one under our belt.